Good morning. This is Dr. Bill Williams coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia on the Influencers Podcast. And I don't know about you, it's a rainy day here in Georgia. It's Friday, though. That's a good thing. And we're able to go out across America and find the best people to interview on the Influencers Podcast. And I have another one today for you. I want to bring her on right now. This is Natalise Kalea Robinson. She's the CEO of Parallel Health, and that means she's out in LA and she's got the nice sunny weather in her backyard. And I want her to give you a little bit of information about what in the heck is Parallel Health and what are we talking about today. Natalise, it's all yours.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Bell. Really nice seeing you. And it's funny, I was going to say that it's actually not sunny today. It's quite foggy a little bit. Right. So we're in the same boat, actually. but thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. I can share that Parallel Health, we're a precision skin health company, and we're trying to really move the needle when it comes to innovation in dermatology. So we're a teledermatology company. That means that you can see physicians at Parallel to talk, to get guidance on your skin health and your skin care. But what we do that's really special is that we've developed a skin microbiome test that enables you to understand your microbial ecosystem on your skin. And that means, many people might know about the gut microbiome and probiotics. So you can take probiotics as a supplement. Well, the gut microbiome is an ecosystem of bacteria, viruses, fungi, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a lot of different, a whole diversity of microbes. Well, the same sort of ecosystem lives on your skin. It's a different ecosystem, but it's a similar concept. And so when that ecosystem is in balance, we generally have healthy skin, we age well. But when it's out of balance, we start having issues like inflammation, redness, acne, eczema, rosacea, et cetera, et cetera. And we don't age as well. And so we try to look at the skin microbiome and really try to balance it with precise microbial formulations. And I can go into what those actually are. But I'll kind of pause there to kind of, answer any questions.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great intro to what is Parallel Health, because, nobody that I know of has dealt with skin biome or the question. And that's one reason I wanted to interview you today, because we need to up our game, know more about it. It's important to have a biome understanding. And how did you get involved in that? What were you surrounded by as far as your peer group, your people that inspired you to get into this particular niche?
Well, this is it's a surprise to me. I think if you asked me, a few years ago if I would be doing this, I probably wouldn't have guessed it at all. I mean, I grew up, really doing, I went to Stanford undergrad. I love science, so I was a physics major going in, but life sort of offered sort of an interesting opportunity in that I was signed by a record label. So I was a recording artist for a few years and started my own record label and publishing house in LA. But I then, again, twists and turns, went back to Stanford to get my MBA. And since then I've worked in startups. So I really have a passion for consumer health and wellness, just improving health outcomes, mental health as well. And I found myself, I was working at different startups, and I met my now co-founder, Dr. Nathan Brown, at a company we were both at, where he was the VP of science and I was the VP of marketing at the time. And Nathan is a phage scientist, and phages are microbes that infect bacteria naturally. So if you think about, bacteria, there are trillions upon trillions of bacteria in the world, all different strains. For every single strain of bacteria, there is a phage that can kill that bacteria and only wants to kill that particular bacteria. So we leverage, and what he was doing and what he has been doing for his entire academic and professional career, is look at phages as a way to target bacteria that are bad, but leave the good bacteria alone. So we met there. That was the first time that I had heard of phages, and really was inspired by his work to make an impact in health, in public health, and in personalized health. And we ended up having a few insights and starting parallel, because what we really learned was that by nature, when you look at the microbiome, you have to really personalize it to the individual, because all of our microbiomes are different. So in order for me to, and for us to give you the right phage cocktail, the right serum, we have to really understand what's going on in your skin microbiome. So that's where we leaned into developing this cutting edge test, and then developing formulations from there.
Well, that's quite, unique in the fact that we went from one career to another career, being a music industry professional, and then going and getting your MBA, and now you're into the deep science. After starting out in
Yeah.
science, physics, I remember physics. Being a chemistry major, I thought physics was much harder to me than chemistry. So, yeah, you've gotten a background that's really amazing. Is there something in
Thank you.
your development as a career professional that moved into various areas that you found that there was a failure story that inspired you by your failure, so that you moved into the next level of your career because of that failure?
Yeah, I mean, it's too many to mention, Bill. I think in every sort of chapter, I think we all go through kind of small failures, medium failures, and once in a while, these big failures. But I think every failure kind of pushes you in a certain direction, right? And I think for me, I'll talk about maybe two kind of early on and one more recently that sort of changed the trajectory. So when I was an undergrad at Stanford, the way that I got into music, so I had studied music. I was studying at the Conservatory of Music at San Francisco. I had a classical background. And I started sending out, but I was really inspired by songwriters in general. I started sending out, in those, I feel so old saying this, but in those days, demos. And what sort of the feedback I got was that, and I remember specifically a call where I was on the phone with a major record label, and their feedback to me was, "We love your record. We love your voice, but it's very good. It's going to be very challenging to sign you because we don't believe America is ready for an Asian American artist." And for me, that was a wake up call in some ways, or it was not even a wake up call. It was just news to me. But it was something that I had to grapple with. And, I was obviously very disappointed, but after some thought and reflection, probably in the next few days, I said, you know what, if they're not going to let me in the front door, I'm going to find a side door. So that really taught me sort of, if I want something, I need to just go out and get it. And it taught me to be resourceful and resilient. So I think that was a sort of a moment, a teaching moment for me. I think more recently, I told you that I met my co-founder, Dr. Nathan Brown, at our last company. When we brought the product, he created the first ever phage-based serum for acne onto the market. When we brought it to market, what we learned was that it worked incredibly well for a certain cohort of people. But in another cohort of people, it didn't do anything. So that was a failure in some ways, because we said, well, this isn't working. What's going on? But that propelled us to really dive deeper and say, okay, well, let's test all these people and see what's going on so that we can understand why it's not working for these people, but it is working for these other people. And what we learned is that because phages are so targeted, they're only going to kill the bacteria that they want. So what we learned is in the cohort where it worked tremendously well, these people had the bacteria that this phage wanted to kill. So these people, we were able to resolve a lot of their breakouts, blemishes, hormonal acne. People were on Accutane, we were able to get them off of Accutane. In the other cohort, they didn't have that bacteria. They had other types of bacteria that clearly this phage was not paired correctly with this bacteria. And so for us, it was that insight that enabled us and propelled us to create Parallel.
Well, thank you for sharing those two failure teaching moments. I would have voted for you for K-pop or for Crazy Rich Asian, and you could have been very famous, but they didn't ask me. But you were just ahead of your time. That's all. I'm sure you had the talent.
Thank you.
It's very interesting that you talk about the phages and what they do and the specificity that they have for each bacteria. I'm really interested in learning more about what you're talking about. It's one of the more, I don't know, it's unique. I don't know if anybody I've met has that particular topic in hand like you do. So let's dig deeper and let's talk about your company motto. Do you have any particular name that you promote, any motto for the your love health?
Yeah, so one of the things that we really try to stress is that we're here to empower you to live in your best skin. So we're not trying to change, who you are. We're trying to help you optimize via your skin microbiome, via clinical insight, and just really help you make the right choices, really. But we also believe that, the future is precision, whether that's precision skincare, precision skin health. And to, your question around phages and why this is unique. Phages have been around for as long as the earth has been around, right? So as long as bacteria have been around, I should say, which is a long time. However, phages were discovered about 100 years ago in Europe independently by two kind of discoverers, one in France and one in Great Britain. But that was in the 1900s, early 1900s, I should say. And so there was a lot of research, and scientists actually used at that time phages to combat diseases back then, like cholera, dysentery, etc. Now, then the Western world, we found penicillin. And so antibiotics, in our minds, well, they work and they're easy to produce and they're cheap. So we in the Western world just went with penicillin and really sort of abandoned sort of phage, because phages, it was difficult to leverage because it is so specific. So you got to get it right, but the technology wasn't there to really unlock the power of phages, right? However, you have sort of the Eastern Bloc, Eastern Europe, as well as Russia. They didn't have access to penicillin at that time, so they continued their research in phage. So if you talk to my co-founder Nathan, he actually went to Russia, learned Russian so that he could read phage therapy papers and understand how they were using phages, because even today you can go to their pharmacy and get it over the counter. And they use it even as a preventative today for certain, issues, day-to-day issues, chronic issues. And so what Nathan learned when he translated those phage therapy papers was that up through the 1950s, they were experimenting with large groups of people using phage, and it worked incredibly well. So when he learned this, he really made it kind of his life's mission to bring phage to the Western world because they're natural, they're safe, they don't have the side effects that other drugs have, like antibiotics.
Well, that's something I didn't know, of course, and I want to deeply dive into this one part. You talk about phages, and I'm being medically trained in the West. I think about macrophages and what's in your blood, and your body produces phages. Are you talking about a different mechanism of phages being created outside the body?
Yes, so we deal with bacteriophages. So bacteriophages are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. You can find them in the soil, in the water, kind of really everywhere. And so what we do is when we find a bacterial target, meaning we say, okay, in this, certain person or this group of people or in this disease, there seems to be this bacteria or family of bacteria that are sort of correlated with inflammation or the lesions or et cetera, with the issue. So we have a target bacteria. We say, okay, we've identified this. We now need to go out into the world and find the right phage or phages that can kill this bacteria, but not kill all the good bacteria around it. So that's really what our bread and butter is at Parallel. So in addition to the testing, we go out, we discover them, we find them, we produce them, and we do so naturally. We don't, at least currently, genetically engineer anything.
And phages are basically non-toxic to the body of the human.
So yeah, so we well, because phages are very safe. They're actually given GRAS status by the FDA, which means generally regarded as safe. We today in the US spray phages on our produce, on meats and cheeses to prevent things like listeria. So we already use them sort of in our sort of food systems. But when we've swabbed different people, we've learned that on average, you have over 10 million phages going through your body, on your body, living, just around your body every day. So we know we have evolved as humans to live alongside phages just as we have lived alongside bacteria. It's just that there are good bacteria, bad bacteria, and there are phages that you want to kill the bad bacteria. And we obviously we don't optimize for the phages that killed the good bacteria. We don't want those, right? So we only leverage the targeted phages that that will eliminate the bad bacteria we're looking to eliminate.
Okay, that's great. I know that there's a ton of the audience right now who's probably going to their Google and searching the word phages, and they want to know more because they just never heard this word before, and they're going to go, I've got to know more. This sounds so good. So tell us about your company's success secrets. What are you doing, and what can people model and learn from your company?
Well, I think one of our largest values, I think, is that we are truly science-based. We follow the data, we follow the science, and if the science doesn't check out, then we don't do it. And so that makes, as a business, it makes things a little bit more difficult because things take a little bit longer, and we are very meticulous and thorough. But it's important to us as a company. I think the other part of this is, as a business and as a company culture, we have we really believe in company culture, in building a culture that is transparent and fair, but also a culture of growth. So we also have a no jerk rule, so to speak.
I like that.
So we really we really optimize for people who are eager to learn and just really want to build something special. Yeah, and I think lastly, we're looking to make an impact in the world. We don't need another, products that sort of mimic other products in the world. We're trying to bring something new and innovative to the market that really makes a difference.
Here's a question that I really want to get some depth on: is why should somebody buy from you? Are you claiming that you can cure anything when you talk about skin diseases or skin conditions? Is there a word like cure you can use, or is that banned from the FDA for saying that word?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, it's sort of more of a the language is a little bit tricky. So in the cosmetics world, no one can say we cure anything. So we don't, because we're trying to follow the rules. So what we can say is that our products support blemishes and breakouts. They support dryness, redness, hydration, and anti-aging. So there are certain things that we know we can support, but really what we're trying to do is help you discover what's best for you. Through our test, you can learn more about yourself and your skin, what makes your skin tick, because the products that your friends and family might use might not be the ones that are great for you. And so and we know that because we've seen that in our cohort. And then we try to point you in the right direction, whether it's with our products or with another brand's products, or with a prescription, which we can also offer. I think there are a lot of clinical applications, though, I think, with what we're doing, and we are looking in that direction. So I think in the future, we might be able to make some of those claims in terms of curing and treating, but we're doing the research that we need to now to go that route.
Yeah, I think for our audience, you have to understand that you can't claim cure without going through the FDA testing procedure, which is very expensive, millions and millions of dollars to test to say you claim to do anything. So it's more sometimes just a matter of we don't have the funds to do the testing, but we know it works. And so we stay in the cosmetic line until we can get to that point where we can actually prove that we might cure something. But just a point of information for the audience. Tell us who your ideal client would be for this skincare line.
That's a great question. So we actually have over 6,000 people on our wait list right now, and we're working through the wait list as we go. But I can tell you that out of those, thousands of people, I'd say a lot of people have, certain skin issues, like hormonal acne comes up a lot, rosacea, melasma, eczema comes up. So they're grappling with some kind of skin issue. They may have used a lot of different products. They may have even tried prescriptions. They may or may not have gone to a dermatologist already, but for whatever reason, they're not finding the solution. And so they come to us saying, hey, I really want to understand what's happening with my skin. And I want to understand the root cause so I can go out and find the right ingredients. So that's one cohort of people. The other cohort of people, I'd say, are people who have generally healthy skin, but are looking for really a way to support anti-aging efforts. And the way, we look at if you come through and you take a skin microbiome test, we can actually tell you your skin age as opposed to your real age, your skin microbiome age. And there are ways that we believe we can sort of improve your skin microbiome age by optimizing this microbial balance so that we can support again, things like hydration, tone and texture, as well as controlling the blemishes and breakouts.
Have you got a list of the bad bacteria that actually cause most of these issues? And you can identify one-on-one a disease condition with a microorganism, and then you can look for the phages that go against those. Is that how you do it?
So we have a bacterial bank, a biobank of over 10,000 bacterial and phage strains. Now, not all of them have been even identified. So when we compared our biobank with the public databases, over 90% of what we have is novel. So that kind of gives you an idea of, the vastness of the microbiome and really the opportunity that we have to really learn more about what are the good bacteria and bad bacteria. But to answer your question, it is very well known in the literature, what bacteria are associated with, acne, what bacteria are associated with eczema, dryness, rosacea, et cetera, et cetera. So there are things that, there's a lot of research that has been done that really helps us kind of move forward and really get to, create these phage cocktails for the right bacteria. But there's a lot more that we need to do.
Now, I'm a dentist, so I'm kind of interested in the oral biome. We study that, we measure it, we take samples and send off for DNA analysis, and then we prescribe the right antibiotic or we do the right treatment. Is there a potential for phages in the oral cavity detection and treatment?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what's really interesting is when we sequence different parts of the face, especially, so we sequence different parts of the face. What we learned is that in this area, in your chin area, a lot of those microbes are from your oral microbiome. So some of and it kind of right? It kind of not contaminates, but you share that biome. And so that bad bacteria from your oral microbiome can get to your skin and cause inflammation and vice versa. And definitely, with the oral microbiome, there's definitely a potential for phages to combat the bad bacteria in your oral microbiome. That's just not something that we've worked on in the short term, but certainly something that we have an eye on.
Yeah, we've tied certain bacteria to certain diseases in the body, and AA is one of the bad ones. Many of them, though. What about your ideal client? If you have somebody with cats and dogs in the house, does that change the biome because they share the same?
It does. Yeah. So when I sequenced my own skin microbiome, now I have dogs. So on my microbiome, I saw dogs or viruses that are unique to dogs in my skin microbiome. And so certainly, yes, everyone in your household, your family members, including your animals, share in that or affect your skin microbiome for sure. And then going back to your other question around sort of ideal client, I think based on sort of, what I was sharing with you about the 6,000 people on our wait list, and sort of their different needs, I'd say 80% of our community today are women. However, there are a lot of men as well. And I think you have a lot of times people who are looking for themselves a solution for something they're going through. But we have a lot of moms too who are looking and dads who are looking for, their teenagers to find a solution for their, their acne or their other skin issue, eczema, because they don't want to put their kids on long-term medication, specifically antibiotics.
Absolutely. Tell us about the way you find the people that are going to be called ideal clients or that get on your waiting list.
Yeah, so our wait list was really amassed through word of mouth as well as Instagram, Facebook. A lot of people found out, some found out through their dermatologists as well. So it's really been sort of a cross between sort of social media and kind of community channels.
So you have dermatologists on board who are starting to recommend testing, and they're making choices based on what they find, of course.
Yeah, that's right. So we have dermatologists and plastic surgeons on our scientific advisory board. But yeah, we just presented this year at IMCAS, which is the largest dermatology event, or at least one of the largest dermatology events in the world. And we placed second globally as a promising innovation in dermatology and aging science. So we were able to, network and meet with a lot of dermatologists there.
Are any of your science-based people talking about the connections between any of the bacteria and basal cell or squamous cell or any kind of carcinomas?
That's a great question. What I can say is that our test, we see everything. We see not only bacteria, but because we use whole genome sequencing, which is a very specific technology. So in addition to bacteria, we see mold, mites, fungi, viruses. And so we have seen that a certain cohort of people have certain viruses that have been correlated with different skin cancers, both melanoma and non-melanoma. And so we have to do a lot more research there to understand, at what level or what viral load do we need to have some kind of intervention, whether it's more preventative or whether it's, this person should see a doctor. We're still working out some of that learning, but there's definitely a potential there to utilize our test as a way to understand health factors in the future.
I imagine artificial intelligence and testing with these different genomes is going to make an impact. Tell us about your well-defined product. What are you offering people right now?
Yeah, so we have, as I mentioned, our skin microbiome. We call it our skin microbiome discovery kit. We also have our phage serums. So if we see a certain bacterial overgrowth and we have the right phage serum for you, then we can recommend that. So we have a whole line, and those are essentially cosmetics or skincare, cosmeceuticals, I should say. And in addition, we have in-house physicians. So you can also come to us and chat with our clinician and also get access to personalized prescriptions. And some of the prescriptions we really focus on are for acne, melasma, rosacea, and anti-aging.
I thought some important question about what you were going into, and then I lost it. I was so interested in what you were saying. So I'll come back to that. It's just a fantastic science project for me to think about the potential in every different area. The testing part, particularly, how do you test? What is the mechanism of the test?
We actually use swabs. So similar to, everyone's familiar with COVID tests now, there's a swab involved. So we use a different but similar swab. So it's non-invasive, it's easy to use, it doesn't hurt or anything. So we send multiple swabs in our kit, and actually I have a kit right here. I can show you. So a kit comes like this in the mail. It has multiple swabs, and you're just going to swab your skin in different areas. We ask for different areas of the face, and then you send your swabs back to us. It's really, really easy. We then sequence, and in 2 weeks we give you a report, and that report tells you your skin microbiome type, your skin age, recommendations on food ingredients, skincare ingredients, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously it tells you kind of an outline of all of your top, I should say, top good microbes and top bad microbes, and an explanation.
Okay, that reminded me of the question I had, and that was, are there different days, weeks, times of the year your microbiome changes? And does it change on parts of the body, like between your toes or around your ears, or maybe under your armpit? Are you gonna have different biomes in different places, or is the one body contaminated with everything? The same thing?
That is an amazing question, because it's actually quite insightful. What we've learned is that what we see in terms of the microbiome in different areas of your skin, even between your forehead and your chin, are different. And so that was a really interesting insight for us, because if you think about the way that we use products, we use the same products for our entire face, or so we use maybe a product for our entire body, and maybe we shouldn't be. So that sort of begs that question. Um, but certainly, the microbiome, for example, in your armpits is very different. So we're actually rolling out a odor microbiome kit where we ask you to swab your armpits. We can then understand the odor causing bacteria, because it's really the bacteria that causes odor. Um, we can then identify what that bacteria is. We can either give you a phage for it or point you in the right direction. So that's really how the test works.
I like it. I think I understand it totally. The wet, moist environment's not going to be the same as the cheeks and tip of your nose that's exposed to sunshine.
That's right. Oh, and to answer your question around, are there certain times of the year or certain moments? Yes, absolutely. So the literature says that our microbiomes change on average twice a year just because of the climate. So your microbiome is going to be different in the summer than it is in the winter. But it can change more times in the year if you're going through something in life, like you change your diet, you get really stressed out, you get pregnant, you move to a different location, or you move in with someone new. So going back to what we talked about in terms of the people around you, you cohabitate with, really affect your skin microbiome. So if you move in with someone, have a new partner, that can change your microbiome.
Yeah, that could be an interesting question as to who donates to your microbiome and when.
That's
I like
right.
that.
That's right.
Now, on college campuses, you might have 100 microbiomes in a week. You
That's
hang
right.
around so many different people every week in a classroom. The office setting, the microbiome of the office.
That's right. Yeah.
So many fun things you could think about. Tell me about online platforms to promote your company. Do y'all use any particular ones that you use to market?
So right now you can find us on Instagram. We're on TikTok, and Facebook. We will be, trying out different channels, I think, in the future, just because I think our our product line and service, I think, is so applicable to such a wide range of different people, different ages. So we're very open and looking to try other channels as well.
Now, have you had enough clients come through the process to where you can say, here's how we deliver our 5-star client experience?
That's a good question. So we're pre-launch right now. We're officially launching this year, but because we have this wait list, we have been engaging with our community so far early on. We actually, if you are on the wait list, you do have access to order early, and so we have had engagement there, and we are talking to people. I think for us, like, the golden rule is, let's just try to be helpful. Even if you don't buy our product, like, that doesn't matter. We want to help you in your skin health journey. So we offer, for people on the wait list, complimentary 10-minute consultations with our doctors. You can ask anything you want, and there's no pressure either way. We just really want to be helpful, and that's really our guiding star there.
Okay, well, I know a lot about startups, and you're doing the right thing by gathering a mass following before you release the product so that it will be an instant success. What about your ambassador status? You're gonna work to get brand ambassadors part of your marketing team?
I think certainly that's a hope. We want to make sure that any ambassadors who we identify are really authentic and genuine, and in sort of their passion for what Parallel does. And so certainly we would love, brand ambassadors, but we want to make sure they're the right ones, and that, they speak from a point of authenticity.
And you're going to require that they have used the product, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, you you have to have gone through the process, and have used it, and we hope that it, really impacts your life in a positive way. And if that's the case, then yes, absolutely, we love, you know, um,
We've learned
those
a lot
those
about how to
ambassadors.
use and not use brand ambassadors this year. So
Mm,
it's important that we pick somebody that went from rags to riches with the product and not just
right.
piggyback on it, right? Let's
Right.
let's
Yeah.
yeah, let's enjoy the future with some honesty and integrity, right?
That's
What
right.
about
Yeah.
yourself? What are you grateful for today? I'd love to hear your explanation
Oh.
of what really motivates you, Natalise, to just get up and do it. And what do you think?
Yeah. I love that question. Thanks for that question. Well, I'm certainly grateful to have the opportunity to build a company that is really trying to impact the world, uh, in such a positive way, um, and to build a company where the people, I think we spend more time with our coworkers, sometimes than we do with our family members, and so we've been able to build a small but, small and lean, but really lovely and wonderful team, who were very collaborative, and yeah, I just love everyone, on the team. They're young and hungry and great. I mean, it's wonderful.
How do you get up every day and get started? What time you get up, and what's your favorite beverage?
So I'm a tea drinker. Once in a while I'll have coffee when I'm really tired, but I have a cup of tea every morning. I now get up at like 6 a.m. every day because of my dogs. So, and we have a puppy as well. So, they keep us up, or they wake us up every morning pretty early.
Oh, that's nice. That's good. Puppy dogs rule the roost when they have the clock. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's
had a
right.
dog when my family with the dog moved out and got their own home. My kids came home from Europe and brought their grandchildren, and they lived here a year and a half. So we had a dog in the house, and now we
Wow.
are back to a cat, and the cat doesn't care what time you get up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Do you guys use any paid digital media as far as running ads, anything that will fuel your growth?
We have experimented, on Facebook and Instagram, a little bit on Google as well, but not very much, to be honest. We use those channels as a path, for awareness. But really, once they kind of come into our community, we really try to get in there and engage with people in a real way. So, whether it's with our doctors or with our team, we're trying to use organic as much as, or be organic as much as, we are paid.
You got it. You got any ideas about what percentage of income, what percentage your gross income you'll be using on ads for digital media as you grow?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good question. I think right now it's an open question because we haven't yet launched. Um, I'm a big believer in experimentation and looking at the data, and you sort of invest where the data kind of points you to. And so I think, especially in early days, I think that percentage is going to be much higher in terms of reinvesting it into a paid digital strategy. But I think, over time we'll expand, into, different arenas, and that percentage, I would imagine, would decrease a bit as we grow.
Yeah, I've been a dentist 46 years, and I was involved in marketing and management and consulting with practices all around the country. So, I
Mm,
tended to have my finger on the pulse of what people should do for marketing expense. And to grow, you need 5%, maybe even 10% in a young practice to grow. And eventually you'll get to 50% of word of mouth, and you don't need to spend as much as that. You can spend 3% on your marketing, and you still, the bigger you grow, the more you have in a total to spend. So you can dominate the market pretty quickly once you start growing, but it's tough to get out there and do it early as a startup. So thanks for that advice. One thing we always like to share with people is that there are different methods to buy digital media, and it's not all what you know. So the people that know, we can save people 90% on what they would spend on paid digital media just by somebody coming to do what we recommend. And so that's one of our products that we often talk about with folks that do pay digital media. So I just put that out there to the world that's listening. It's not always what you think is available. You can do better if you talk to the right people. Now let's talk about advice. Go ahead.
No, say that again.
Let's talk about what you would recommend to your 20-year-old self if you were starting all over again to do this life. Where would you go? What would you do?
Yeah, that's a big question, Bill. I think one of the things I would say is try to be in the moment, try to be more present. Don't worry so much about what people think. I think when I was in my 20s or early 20s, I really cared a lot about what people thought of me, which affected the decisions I made. And I think as you get older, you learn, people don't actually care. Like, you don't really matter that much, to people. So you should just focus on you and focus on what is authentic to you and pursue that path.
Wise thought from smart lady. Tell me about your living mentor, and do they have an impact on your life and what you're doing now?
Well, I'm a mama's girl. So my mom is a kind of a lifelong entrepreneur. And so, whenever I have really foundational sort of like issues or challenges, I'll go to her and run the scenario by her and get her thoughts. She's very practical, and very logical, but very empathetic, and really great with people, I think. My mom is much more outgoing than I am, much more extroverted. And so I think that has really served her well because she's so authentic about it, about her relationships. And so I've learned a lot through her.
Moms are so good to have as mentors. Tell me about being impactful and yourself. Do you want to be impactful, and why is it important to you?
Oh, that's a loaded question because I think, of course, yeah, I think that's the dream, right? To do what you love and make an impact in the world that means something. I've always said that I want to make the world more beautiful, in whatever, in many ways. And so for us at Parallel, what we're trying to do is actually, in empowering you to live in your best skin, we're actually trying to not only make you happier and healthier, we're trying to support you in your journey to optimal confidence, right? And so really that is my North Star personally, is that I want to enable and allow people to just be their best selves.
I like that. You always have to have a North Star, whatever it is. Yeah. If you think about it, as your career comes to an end and you look back at it, what do you want to be remembered for?
I think, I think, like just a few seconds ago, I said that I wanted to create, a more beautiful world. I want to make the world more beautiful. that's what I would want to be remembered for, that I created something or did something or um, made an impact to make the world a little bit better, um, for one person or a million people.
Well, you got the skincare biome secrets locked up. And if you can unlock them and give people clear skin, you know how many millions that would make happy? It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Kids with acne, rosacea, those things are devastating to the kids. So you've got some really
Yeah.
good opportunity, I think. Tell us, Natalise, how can we support you in Parallel Health?
Oh, well, thanks for that question. Well, you can find us at parallelhealth.io. And if anyone is listening and wants to try sort of the parallel experience and the testing and the phage, you can sign up for our waitlist at parallelhealth.io/waitlist. And you get access to not only early pre-orders, but also a discount to try the product. And so, and if you have any questions and you want to talk with our clinician, we're here for you as well. So yeah, look forward to anyone who's interested.
I think you'll get a lot of takers. It's going to be a good day for you guys to get people interested as we send this out to 200 countries around the world and thousands of people listening live or on recorded versions. Natalie, tell us how you felt about your guest experience on the show today.
Oh, well, I really appreciate you having me. It's always nice to just have a conversation with someone who's so supportive and curious and interested. And thanks for the opportunity to allow me to share about Parallel Health and what we're building.
Yeah, I find it's interesting to find something out in medicine that I didn't know about. I mean, you stumped me. And I take pride in thinking I know a lot about things, but I learned a lot today, and that's wonderful that I could learn about the skin biome and its importance and about phages. I did not know about phages. So I'm going to go look that up and start studying. Hey, how about sending me some information on that even? I'd love it. I'm sure you have a lot of
Sure.
info.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
become
there are
one of the
tons
brand
of
ambassadors maybe on that one.
would love that. Would love to have you. No,
Hey,
thank you for being so open. I think, there are a lot of, we've met a lot of doctors who are supportive, but we've also met a lot of doctors who, want to stick to the standard of care. They want to stick to what they know.
skeptics.
And so appreciate your openness as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Before I give you the final word, I want to find out this one question that's been bugging me. What the heck led you to want to be a physicist?
What? I just had an amazing teacher in high school, and I think teachers, really amazing teachers they make all the difference. And I love my physics teacher. He was awesome and quirky and but so passionate, right? He was so passionate about physics. It made me passionate about physics. And physics, I felt just connected different elements of the world, right? Because physics is applicable to things here in your day to day, but also, there's everything from molecular physics to astrophysics. And so I think that was really, it made me feel, how do I say this? In some ways, it made me feel small because physics felt so big, but I loved that feeling. I don't know if I'm describing that right, but
It
in some
was an
ways, that's how
interface with the universe.
yeah, exactly.
I had a teacher just like yours in biology who praised me in my biology class and gave me a feeling of worth and had 102 or 3 average for the year because she gave some bonus points. And I felt like
Mhm.
I was more accomplished in that area. And I'm sure that had a direct correlation to me going into the medical sciences. And I
Absolutely.
had a
Yeah.
feeling that the teachers instill in you what you might become based on how well they are perceiving you and you perceiving them. So great insight.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I want to give you the final word to our audience on the Influencer podcast now. So Natalise, go ahead and have at it. Have a good speak.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Bell. And for those of you who are listening, you can find Parallel Health at parallelhealth.io. Sign up for our wait list. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at questions@parallelhealth.io. And we really do want to empower you to live in your best skin. And we hope you do. With that, have a great day.
There you have it. Natalise Kalea Robinson with Parallel Health. What an interesting, inspiring young lady. I don't think she's that shy. I think she's very open, honest, and forthright about something that's very important, very new to all of us, the skin biome. So thanks for being here, Natalie. And our audience, take advantage of this, learn about the skin biome testing that's available from Parallel Health. We'll see you later on the next Influencers podcast. This is Dr. Bill Williams saying have a good weekend.